Hello and welcome to the British Gaming Podcast. It is the 6th of October 2015. With me, as always, is Richard Savage.
Yo!
And Terry Kane.
Hey!
Who this week doesn't get any insulting introductions because we had some sad news regarding the Terry Kane. He's gone from having one job, which meant that he couldn't make it to every podcast, to then being able to do every podcast, to now having a new job where he can't make every podcast. So basically, you've got a 4 nights on, 4 nights off deal, where we can record on different days to accommodate him, we will, but it looks like Terry will be with us essentially every other week.
Yeah, pretty much. Can't say too much about the nature of the job. It's very kind of hush-hush NDA kind of stuff, but I'm quite excited about it.
You're trying to make it sound cooler than it is.
It really isn't. It's not. It's exciting to no one but me, basically.
Yeah, it's exciting to maybe your bank manager as well. Because there'll actually be some money coming in again.
Yeah, true that.
Right. Should we get on with the topic list and
Yeah,
see what we've got
get
to
on
talk
with it.
about? Thanks. So, Far Cry Primal has been announced. Game is going to set up a Steam section in their stores. Maybe it'll get rid of the Nintendo section, who knows? Metal Gear Solid 5 adds its most ridiculous microtransaction yet. A man has been sued for hosting a Pokemon-themed party. Yu Suzuki gives some more details about Shenmue 3, which are a little concerning, I've got to say. Nintendo has been dropped from the top 100 brands, and breaking news, literally we found out about this within the past half an hour, Sonic Lost World is coming to PC, and there are 2 new Sonic the Hedgehog arcade machines, Sonic Dash Extreme and Sonic Blast Ball, which Terry will no doubt make a porn-related joke about. So, before we get into any of that, we've got our usual stuff, which is, of course, my question of the week and what we've been playing, but in the reverse order to the order I just said them in. So, what has everyone been playing this week?
Oh, who's starting?
Anyone. It's an open question, yeah.
Okay. I've been going back to Vanquish a little bit in small little segments. It's basically take Gears of War, get it made in Japan, and put it on loads of crack, essentially.
That's a terrible description. Right.
It's amazing.
It's a terrible description, though, of an amazing game. You're in what looks like one of the Spartan suits from Halo, only in white, and you've got jets so you can boost yourself around these environments. The camera is third person over the shoulder, lots of shooty guns and giant bosses, and it's just one of those games where just when you think it can't get more over the top, somehow it manages to do exactly that. Very overlooked.
Oh, I prefer my description, but okay.
Mine was more accurate. Anyway,
All right,
what else have you been playing?
Antic. I've been playing some more Mario Maker. I've been mainly playing other people's levels. I am meaning to make another level. I'll have another level code for next week's podcast, assuming I'm on next week's. The next one I'm on, I'll have a code for. Okay. I picked up No More Heroes 2 today. I was really surprised I got it for £3, and it normally goes for between £15 and £25, and it looks as good as new, so I'm looking forward to having a bit of a play on that, although admittedly I've still not finished the first one yet. And, I finally finished the story on Xenoverse. And... Yep. Yeah, it's good to see a Dragon Ball Z game actually kind of having its own story rather than just retelling the show. It's quite an interesting sort of perspective.
The original content is a little bit few and far between.
Yeah. But at least they're trying.
It's like most of the story is a retread of the main Dragon Ball story with a couple of tweaks.
Yeah, but again, like I say, it's still more than a lot of other Dragon Ball games have done.
True enough. Who's typing, by the way?
No.
Right, okay. So, Xenoverse, Mario Maker, Vanquish, any more for any more?
I've been playing a bit of Chrono Trigger as well. I got the DS version of that. I think I mentioned it last time.
Yeah, you mentioned
Again,
that a
it's
couple of times, that one, yeah.
yeah, yeah, still plodding on with that. Not really much else at the moment. So I'm looking forward to Life is Strange at the moment, but I won't go on about that anymore.
No, you've said quite enough about that one. Richie, what have you been playing?
Played quite a bit of GTA 5, as you know,
Yeah,
because I played it
spoilers.
mainly with you two, and then a bit without Terry as well.
Well, we got to get used to doing things without Terry.
That's true.
Yeah.
But we
Is
still
that
need
is
still
that
need
what I'm
to do
going to keep getting
heists.
every time I'm on?
Yeah, you traitor.
Yeah, next step is heists for us, I think. I'm
Yeah.
sure you'll talk about your GTA stuff later.
Well, me, you, Chaz, and your brother, we'll do some heists. It'll be great.
Oh, poor Terry.
Mm.
Sound like you just kicked a puppy. He doesn't
That-
want to like it, but he kind of does.
If Terry's a puppy, he must be a pug.
What? Because I'm awesome.
Because he's
No,
got a
'cause you're
flat
derpy.
face. Anyway, what else have I been playing? I think that's about it, actually. That's all I really played. I found out when I went to round my sister's the other day, she's got Lego Dimensions. I didn't have time to play it on at the weekend just gone, but I'll be giving it a go this weekend just so I can let you know what I think of it. Really, she got the Portal pack, which does look quite cool. The little figures you get with it are pretty cool. Don't get
They're
me
the
wrong.
same size as a normal Lego minifigs, because they look like they are.
I don't know. I didn't see it that close. I just saw it, but
How
yeah,
close do you need to see a Lego figure to know how big it is?
it was just in passing. No, it's probably bigger than a normal, obviously, Lego minifigure. But
Really?
yeah,
Based on the
That's what I
box sizes, I can't imagine they'd be that big though.
No.
but yeah, I mean, they do look kind of cool, so I'm interested to give that a go just to see what it's like. But yeah,
I'm
I haven't really been
told-
playing much, to be honest.
I'm told it plays like every other Lego game.
I believe it probably does.
Yeah, just with the content locked behind buying lots of expensive toys. But there we go, that seems to be the trend now, doesn't it? Just waiting for a Sega one, Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing 3. You can only play as Rio if you buy a figure of him in a forklift.
You'll have to kickstart that.
Yeah, people would buy it, that's the scary thing.
But yeah, that's it for me. So moving on to Sam.
Alright, well, Grand Theft Auto 5, as Richie said, there's a video up on my solo channel of us dicking around in Grand Theft Auto 5. Actually, from that session, there's enough content from that to make another montage video. So that'll be coming. The one I've put up is like us doing missions in the multiplayer. Whereas the second one is going to be centered around a crazy night out that we had in game.
Also, if you want to see Sam's aptitude for flying, check out Richie's channel.
It's on my solo video as well. That same flight, but in first person, which makes it a little bit scarier. So there's that.
Yeah, fuck Richie's video. Watch mine.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's good to see it from third person as well, though. So you can always watch both. My video is only like 3.5 minutes long.
It's like when a DVD has multi-angle options.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we're gonna promote it.
I don't think I've ever actually encountered a DVD that actually has that. Like the amount of times I tried pressing it on the remote and it's like no options available. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I think when they filmed Blade Runner, they weren't thinking one day this will get a DVD release and a DVD will be capable. So when they just repressed it, they just had the one cut. And plus, directors get very very picky about what does and doesn't go out. It's like, it's mine. If someone else changes the angle, it's not my vision anymore.
It's just one of those unused features, like the mode button on the 6-button Mega Drive controllers.
We're kind of getting a little off topic.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I played a little more Far Cry 4. Tried going back to Arkham Knight to mop up side quests and stuff, maybe go teach Riddler a lesson, but it's so much work and too much effort, and I'm not gonna do it. Basically. And that's me really this week. I've not been I've been playing a whole lot, to be honest. Right, so, question of the week. And again, I wish I had prepared this in advance. As usual, I left it until today and went, oh yeah, I haven't thought of anything yet. So if you could take one existing property, and adapt it to a video game, which property and why? Which is framed like a blind date question, I just realised. So Terry, which property and why? Don't answer it like a blind date question.
I don't understand this question. What are you asking me?
So if you could take one thing you're a fan of and transform
an intellectual
it into a video game.
Oh, that kind of problem. I thought you meant like a house or something.
No. Right, then you're both idiots. If I turned around and said I wanted to see a Full Metal Alchemist game, I wouldn't say that because there already are Full Metal Alchemist games, albeit they're shit. But yeah, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So there must be things you're fans of that you'd like to see and play as a video game.
I'm not going to lie, I'm just having a quick look at my DVDs and Blu-rays at the moment. One sec.
Just staring at them like something here must be doing it. Richie, any thoughts? Any ideas?
Probably. I'm having thoughts, but not ones related to the question.
As long as they're not Rule 34 thoughts again.
I'm gonna go.
I haven't opened that website yet. It's only a matter of time.
Oh, I've got one. I'd like to see a Batman Beyond game.
I think there is one.
Is it a good one?
No. So you'd like to see a Batman Beyond game that maybe takes some notes from the Arkham series?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Batman Arkham Beyond.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do a lot with like all the futuristic technology and Terry. Shit, what's his last name? It's McGinnis, isn't it? Yeah, like Terry McGinnis's, jetpack suit and shit like that.
Oh, you're just excited, so you can finally play a video game where the in-game radio calls you Terry.
Oh, fuck yeah, of course I am.
Terry, I've located Joker. He's at the warehouse. Fucking A. Then again, that's why I like Vanquish. The main character in that is called Sam. Sam, get over here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you should probably like Splinter Cell then.
And I really don't.
Well, you do suck at stealth games.
This is true. Which is why I'm glad MGS5 has an action option, just so fuck it, we'll shoot everything.
Yeah.
That suits me fine. I'm going to go with Negama, which is a manga series by Ken Akamatsu, who's the guy behind Love Hina, I Love You, and some bits and pieces.
That'll just be basically a dating sim with a bit of magic.
No. I think you've only seen the anime, and the anime adaptation is fucking awful. So, in the manga, it is a 10-year-old mage, wizard, whatever you want to call him, gets sent to a Japanese boarding school, and I think they're about 13, 14, the girls. And he's their English teacher, basically. And it's a Japanese boarding school, so their native language is Japanese, and that's why English is a foreign language subject. Anyway, he can't reveal to them that he's a wizard, or else he'll get turned into an ermine. They all end up finding out, spoiler alert, and he can make what's called a contract with them. So if they kiss, then they get like a weapon unique to them, and like one of them gets a big sword. One of them gets a book that will tell them anything they need to know.
She gets Negi's sword.
Thanks, Terry. I think the artist really, really late in the series, one of them's, an artist, and she gets like this pad where whatever she draws, a real one comes to life and helps them out. So she can draw like a stone golem, and one of them will help. And Negi himself becomes a combat mage, so he's in very close. He does very quick spells, very big spells. He's like, get in, do a lot of damage, do it quickly, and just don't give your opponent a chance to get up. So I think that the battle system mechanics for a Negama game could be really interesting, especially in the later arc. They go to the magical world, and there's a fair bit of fighting in that. He's involved in a tournament. It's a tag team tournament, and some of the spells and shit they start throwing out, I imagine the battle system would be very Kingdom Heartsy. And, you could select from the girls who you wanted to take into battle with you, and you'd have to think about, right, what enemy am I fighting? What weapons and unique abilities do the girls have? How can that help me? I think it'd be very reflex actiony, bam bam, but there'd also be a layer of depth and strategy where you're choosing your partners carefully. Some story points you'd be limited on who you could take, forcing you to change how you play, and like the spell system as well. Obviously, you wouldn't use a lightning attack on a metal enemy, so you'd need to, change your way of thinking there as well. I just think it could make a really good game, and considering I hadn't thought of my answer before giving it, that's actually quite a good and in-depth answer, and if a developer is listening who's able to obtain that license and do a good job of it, please do it, because I really want to play it now.
Yeah, and not my dating sim idea.
Yeah, not his fucking terrible dating sim idea. Just as a general rule of thumb, nobody listened to Terry. Ever.
Yeah, I don't think anyone does.
No. I don't think you ever get taken seriously.
See, your answer's so much more detailed and in-depth than mine was going to be. I was just going to go, Team America. That sounds like it should be... Wouldn't that be good? Wouldn't that be a fun fucking game?
Okay, yeah, I vote Richie's answer.
No, you don't get to cop out. So Team America just going around with like the Thunderbirds-y styled puppets shooting things.
Hell yeah.
Is it a little bit now? I mean, I think the time for that sort of passed. I think if it came out now, it wouldn't have the relevance.
I don't know. I think if they maybe timed it with a sequel to the movie or something like that, it could work.
Yeah, to be fair, sequels are taking like 10 years or so now. Hey, we made a sequel to this, and people go watch it, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
Look at Terminator Genesis. That was fucking years apart.
You need to give an answer, Terry.
I gave an answer, Batman Beyond.
Oh, yeah, you did. Then why did you say you vote Richie's answer? If you'd already given one.
Yeah, over yours. Richie's sounds more fun.
Oh, fuck you too.
Less weeaboo.
Well, I am a weeaboo. No, so, Far Cry Primal. We don't know a lot about it, other than Ubisoft announced it this week with a live stream of a cave painting that 11,000 people were staring at for hours. And yeah, it's a Far Cry game set in the Ice Age. Lengthwise, apparently we should expect something similar to Blood Dragon. This isn't Far Cry 5, it's just to tide us over, pretty much. Not sure how I feel about it, really. I never use the bows or knives in normal Far Cry. I usually find a big gun, and my strategy is I have a larger gun than you, it fires more bullets per second than yours. I'm also wearing a lot of body armor, so I think I might win.
Maybe this is their way of addressing that, then.
Yeah, it's their way of saying, fuck you, Sam.
Yeah.
Far Cry, fuck Sam Edition.
See,
the thing is, if they named it Fuck Sam Edition, Terry would buy 20 on launch.
Yeah.
He'd post one to me a month. You'd kickstart it.
If it's anywhere as good as Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, just in terms of sheer quality, I'll be so fucking happy. I loved that game so much.
I doubt it. I think this is going to have a very different atmosphere and feel based on the setting.
Oh yeah, no, I was talking purely quality. In terms of atmosphere and setting, it is going to be definitely very different. I mean, I'm looking at an article right now and just seeing a bunch of different screenshots of concept art, and yeah, it doesn't look anything like it. I'm just imagining like how they're going to do it. I mean, I'm seeing some mammoths there. They've already got elephants in Far Cry 4 with the dinosaurs. All they got to do is just kind of take the dragons from Blood Dragon and just kind of adapt those, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
So it's not exactly a difficult sort of in-house mod to really do, because it is essentially just a mod, really.
Yeah, you've just downgraded this release so badly. Like, oh, this is going to be a fucking lazy cut and paste job. Modders could do better. Yeah.
To be fair, it's quite ingenious to take a sort of, I guess, fucking hell, efficient. That's the word I was looking for. Efficient approach. I like that sentence. Yeah. I'm just going to shut
beat around
now.
the bush way to say something. Well done, Richie.
I haven't really played the previous one, so I don't really have any expectations of this game. But it'd be interesting to see what they can come up with.
Yeah, Richie,
If
Far
they're
Cry
going
3
down
still.
the ungun, if they're going down the non-gun route, I mean, games like that are always quite fun. Hitting people over the head's always fun.
You think they'll include a club somewhere if it's cavemen?
I think they're going to have
Bonk.
to, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hopefully. I can see a picture of a flaming spear as well, so that looks pretty fun.
But yeah, I've never played a Far Cry game, really, so...
Add Far Cry 3 and Blood Dragon to your list.
yeah, I'll put it on my wish list when it goes on sale.
4 you can kind of take or leave. The gameplay on it's good, but the story's just kind of meh.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so like Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon I was playing obsessively. Like, it's one of the few games where I was on it every single night after work for like 2 weeks solid until it was beaten. That rarely happens to me now. Whereas Far Cry 4, like, I pick it up for a couple of hours one night, I put it down, I maybe won't play it for a week or two, and then I have another, 2, maybe 3 hour session, whereas Far Cry 3 and Blood Dragon were like 5 to 6 hour sessions every single night.
Far Cry 3 Deluxe Edition's only £20 on Steam at the moment, so when it goes on sale,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yep. Although,
Yeah.
I don't know if you should start with Blood Dragon or whether you should do Blood Dragon after. I can't decide.
I started with Blood Dragon, and to be
Yeah,
honest,
same.
I don't think it matters, to be honest.
Here's what bugged me though, like Blood Dragon, you're pretty much fully upgraded from the get-go. So then when I started Far Cry 3, I felt like a pathetic wuss. Because I didn't have like all of the, that infinite running and all the other perks.
Maybe for progression then it's better for me to start with 3.
Yeah,
Probably,
because then you'll feel like you actually deserve the skills you have in Blood Dragon.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Go with that then.
Okay.
Speaking of Steam, we mentioned Game putting a Steam section in their stores, which seems like an unusual move. Obviously, Game have always been a brick-and-mortar retailer, relying very heavily on their pre-owned trade. Now, personally, I don't see any reason to go into Game, buy a card with a Steam key on it, to then go home and activate the Steam key, when for the same price, or probably cheaper knowing Game, I could, just boot up Steam and buy it.
Well,
to be honest,
they already do that for other platforms anyway. Like you can buy a
PSN,
Minecraft
XBLA.
code. Can't you? You can buy like ones that say Minecraft on, and it just gives you a code that downloads Minecraft to your console.
yeah, or like Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, but why would you do that? This is what I'm trying to figure out. Why, if I'm sat at home, right, I'm like, I fancy buying this game on Steam, I wouldn't then go, right, let's get up, go out the door, go to Game, buy the code, come home, activate the code.
Because you're looking at this the wrong way, Sam. That it's not a case of if I'm sitting at home, will I go out and buy? It's more of a case of, okay, so I'm out in the city, me and a couple of people are just going around shopping and stuff, we're having a look in Game. Oh, look, I see that there. Oh, look, they even have it on sale as well, which Steam don't have. Kind of like what Green Man Gaming do. Like,
and it's for like people who are buying them as presents and things like that as well, isn't it? You can buy someone a code for a game.
Yeah, but it's like when Terry very, very kindly bought me Grand Theft Auto 5, he sent me the code just as text.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that
copy,
works
paste.
for you two.
Here you go.
That's fine, it works fine for you.
Yeah.
But if you're, say, maybe one of our parents or something like that, and they want to buy their kid a game for Christmas, but it's something that doesn't really necessarily have a physical release, like Minecraft doesn't really have many physical releases, apart from maybe on the Xbox. But
Xbox,
PS4, etc.
Xbox 360, Xbox One, PlayStation 3, PlayStation
Sam,
4,
you're missing the
PlayStation
point.
Vita.
That's not the point. The point is, it's something like the PC version where it's not such a physical release, but they still want to buy it and they still want to be able to wrap it up and still see the kid open it. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? That's what it's aimed towards.
And just impulse buyers who are out in the town.
If I saw, a game, I was like, I want that on Steam, I'm more likely to open the app than I am to give Game money for a card with a code.
Yeah, You
Yeah, but
are,
everyone
but
is-
not everyone is. You are not
Yeah.
everyone, Sam. Remember?
Exactly.
But
it's
I
like
should be.
You might think you are, but you're not.
well, it's like Sam. It's like saying I don't do this, so it shouldn't be a thing. It's like saying, well, I don't play FIFA, so therefore they shouldn't bother releasing it because no one else will buy it.
I wish FIFA wasn't a thing. Corrupt enough organisation as it is. It's another topic for another time, really. So where do you think?
Podcast?
Yeah, how much shelf space can you see this taking up? Because it is going to be like little plastic debit card sized things on a wall. It can't need that much shelf space, surely.
Saying that, I've seen some like DVD cases in game store shelves where it's got digital download on the box. So I don't know what that's about.
I think that's a display case for you to take to the
Yeah,
counter.
well, yeah, I know, but does that mean that we're going to get a DVD-sized case, or have they got the cards behind the till? I don't
Well,
know
it's
what
probably
they-
like the old Xbox Live cards you used to get. They came in a case, didn't they? And you just had a little card inside them you scratched off, and it had your
Yeah.
code on it.
which
That
is
was
kind
a
of
waste of
plastic.
plastic.
Oh, it was an absolute waste, but that was how they did it. So I mean, it's probably something similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
you
crap,
know-
I just realised I made a horrible pun there.
Also,
Hey.
someone's phone is near their PC.
Mine's not far away. I'll move it a little further away.
Yeah, I tossed mine downstairs earlier, so. Anyway.
Talk about your phone.
See, I wouldn't do that because mine's worth like 500 quid.
Jesus, what phone have you got?
Well, probably not at 500 quid anymore, but it probably was when I got it.
Wow. No, I think it's going to be one of those cases where it will be a display case, and they'll actually just have the physical cards behind the till. Because if you actually put, you've seen sometimes the PSN XBLA ones where they've got the card hanging on the cardboard strip, just on the shelf on little hooks, like the Sonic 4 ones, for example, they've had out for PSN.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what the actual product will look like, but I think they won't put those out on the actual shelf because people can very easily run in, grab one, and just peg it. It's like they keep the actual discs for games behind the counter, and it's just display cases for the most part out front, so I don't see this being any different.
But then why would they not put out these new ones if they've already got cards out on the shelves?
Well, good point. They might do it, but I think they're idiots for doing it that way.
Yeah, but then by that logic, someone can go in and grab a PC game and peg it out of the shop because, as in the physical disc ones, because they're just sealed and out on the shelves. It's not a display case with those.
Seriously? Wow. They
Yeah.
do display cases with all their PS4, Xbox One games, so...
Yeah, I know. I don't get. I think it's just because of the fact that I don't know. I guess there's CD keys inside, and I guess they're worried about like staff members being like, yeah, I'm going to go home and activate this one on Steam. I guess.
Yeah, but then would they not be concerned about the... Because the thing is, if they're going to have the sealed ones out on the shelf, that still doesn't... If I buy a game on PS4 Xbox One, well, it'd be PS4, it wouldn't be Xbox One because I don't have one, it's still usually sealed copies I've got behind the counter, and that's just a display case.
Yeah.
So I don't see why I still don't see why they'd have sealed
yeah.
PC games, because even PS4 games now have like day one DLC codes and stuff inside them that the staff could take advantage of.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm just wondering if these Steam sections are just going to replace the physical boxed copies because physical games for PC are basically nearly dead.
That or the Nintendo section, they did recently drop out of the top 100 brands. Hey, he's back on it. I don't actually know much about this. This is a topic that Richie put forward because he'd seen it. Looks like some kind of financial website. Richie, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this?
It's just one of these surveys they do every year. It's like the Forbes top 100 type thing where they just basically say the top 100 brands, and this is the first time Nintendo, I don't know how many years, I didn't get that far, but
2001, so 14 years.
yeah, I mean, that's the first time they haven't made that list, which, to be honest, is quite a big deal, really, for a company still as large as Nintendo. It's not like they aren't really relevant anymore.
Their very grumpy-looking new president made a statement saying he blames it on basically their resilience.
Iwata dying. It's his fault.
No, just like I said before, their new president. I've still not seen a single photo where that fucker looks happy. Right? Like Iwata, pretty much every photo, smile. This guy, every photo, it looks like you just fucking knocked on his door at 12 o'clock at night while he was asleep. You've woken him up, he stood there, and you dare to tell him you've just run over his cat. That's how
It's
he
like
looks
someone
in
insulted
every...
his honour.
Yeah, all that. That's how he looks in every photo I've seen of him. Like, why are you at my front door? You killed my cat? I don't know why it sounds like that. But he just looks...
I don't know. I think Nintendo just kind of had a bit of a weird period, like with the Wii U whole kind of this whole console generation. I mean, the Wii U, compared to the financial success of the original Wii, has been a flop, comparatively speaking. I mean, Amiibos have been the main thing keeping them afloat, I'd theorize. Citation needed. That's just
if
my
we go back
hypothesis.
to his quote, he blamed it on their resilience to new ideas and the fact that they only announced that they would join the smartphone market in March, which is way, way, way late to the game. Just that they're not innovators or forerunners anymore. They're not at the cutting edge.
No, that's the thing. I mean, they seemed like they were sort of at the cutting edge with like when motion control still seemed relevant, but then they just kind of stopped and stagnated there.
The problem is, well, they've tried to stay relevant, haven't they? And they just haven't been successful in these last few instances. It's not like it's the first thing they've ever released that's flopped.
No.
It just happens to be what's happening right now.
Let's look at the Wii U gamepad. They were like, this is a great innovation, asymmetrical gameplay. A, very few developers have done anything with it. And B, that press conference was followed up by Sony coming out and going, here's the PlayStation Vita, here's the PlayStation 4, here's the PlayStation Vita doing all of the things that Nintendo just told you only the Wii U gamepad can do. Clearly, they were not aware of this connectivity between the Vita and the PS4, because then they'd have known that they were talking out of their fucking asses.
True, but then the difference with those two is like the Wii U gamepad is just a standard part of the console package, whereas the Vita is an add-on essentially. It's the same reason why there's fuck all for Kinect on either of the Xboxes, because not every console has one.
And yet, although the Wii U gamepad is a standard packaged-in item, despite that fact, the Vita and the Wii U gamepad still have about the same level of utilization in actual games that have come out.
I don't know. I'd say there's a bit more than that.
Well, come on. Arkham City Armored Edition using it as a fucking minimap and an inventory.
Mario Maker.
Huh.
I'll give you Mario Maker, but that's a first. Hang on. That's a first-party title.
Okay, Zombie U.
No longer a Wii U exclusive.
No, it's not an exclusive game, but the whole kind of premise of the game is still exclusive to the console in terms of the utilization of the pad and inventory system.
I will double check if the Vita can do all of the functions that the Wii U gamepad can do after the show.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I've only got about 4 years late to do that.
I don't know, I just don't see them as being very relevant. They're not... Here's the thing, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. When I think, I might get a Wii U, I'm not thinking for me, I'm thinking for my kids.
Yeah. The thing is, like, Nintendo were trying to basically play the whole family-friendly thing, but the thing is, more and more parents are getting their kids PS4s and Xbox Ones because more and more parents are irresponsibly letting their kids play Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty.
Yeah, true. We've had our fair share of 12-year-olds in matches. But I think Nintendo's cash situation isn't what it was. Like you said, Amiibo are definitely keeping them afloat.
And 3DS for that matter.
I mean, for Christ's sake, they're having to sue people for hosting Pokemon parties at that strapped. They want $4,000 out of this kid. Basically, he was hosting sort of like a pre-PAX party. So this is over in the United States, and essentially the reason they went after him, this is the 5th annual party that he's done. No problem the previous 4 years. This year they've come down on him hard because he was advertising it on Facebook with a poster that featured official art of Pikachu and official art of, I think it was Snivy, the other Pokemon. Now, he insists that he obviously hasn't made any money out of these parties. If anything, he's saying he made a loss.
That's irrelevant, really, though, isn't it? He's still charging people.
$2 entry, yes. However, there is some relevance, because if someone's coming after you for loss of earnings, and actually you've made a loss, you can pretty much, your defense at that point is, well, if you want to take on the debt, that's fine. There's no profit to give you. So it's relevant.
I don't think that holds up, though, because that's like saying you can plagiarize anything as long as you're making a loss off it, even if you're still charging people for it. That just doesn't seem logical.
If there's no money made, if you're not up.
But he's trying to make money. It's not like he's not trying to make money.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if someone was trying to use your artwork to try and charge people for it, rather than you sort of making money for your artwork, wouldn't you be a little bit pissed?
Even if they then went and made a loss, you'd still be unhappy about it, wouldn't you?
Potentially. When we're looking at these things, I mean, there's a difference between like a not-for-profit, which this is, I'm doing an event, I'm trying
absolutely.
to cover my costs. That's not a product, for one. Okay, an event is classed as an experience rather than a product.
Is that what it says in the legislation and all that kind of stuff as well?
Yep. Now, bear in mind, I'm talking about UK, not US, where this is taking place, so there may be differences for the US. 2, you're not... For someone to come after you, so they have to have a reasonably similar official version of the product to be able to claim, well, you're infringing. If you're putting something out there that does not exist, then a lot of the time you can say, well, we've not cut into your profits because you're not offering this. That's why a lot of people who sell, like, the costume Halo helmets and stuff, all the bloody resellers for that on Facebook rarely get into trouble. Because they come after them and like, hey, you're selling Batman cows, you really shouldn't be doing that. And they're like, well, do you have an official one people can buy? No. Okay, so how are we cutting into your sales if you're not selling it?
I don't know, you're still infringing on someone's trademark, though, aren't you, really? For your own gain, regardless of whether or not they are applying to that specific niche with their trademark.
Bear in mind as well that we are talking about this as TPP is coming in, which is basically a trans-Pacific agreement between various countries around copyright, and that changes the rules in places like America and a few others. Doesn't affect Europe, but it essentially looks like it's now meaning that even putting fan art up on DeviantArt and not charging for it would still count as an infringement, and you could still be charged or sued or potentially do jail time for that, which is weird because previously it was, if there was loss of earnings for the IP holder, so if someone took Joe Cape, did a print of it, which was unauthorized, and made money out of that, I could go after them for the profit they made on the print. And the other one would be if you were doing something that damaged their brand, their IP, or their reputation. So, for example, if you draw a Disney princess with her tits out and you're not charging for it, well, Disney still have a right to be angry because they don't want Ariel to have her tits out. But that is the other argument they can come at you from. Whereas if someone, drew a perfectly respectable image of Ariel and they just put it up on DeviantArt and they weren't charging or anything for it, then really there's not a whole lot that Disney can do. They could send you a cease and desist potentially, but that'd be about it.
What about instances where it's sort of a variation? Like, you remember when Vinny was talking about how we sort of had that concept art of Assassin's Creed, where it was set in Japan, if I remember correctly, like a sort of
correct.
concept
Assassin's
of that.
Creed Rising Sun is what he was titling that project. Mm-hmm. So this is
so
where we come into the... If you let me answer your question, then you'll get an answer to your question. If you talk over me while I'm answering the question, you won't get an answer
Sam,
to the
please
question.
don't patronise me. I'm not one of your children, don't talk to me like that.
Fine. So this is where we come into the area of transformative works, which is where if you take something and you bend it or alter it to a point that it is far enough removed from the source material that it's no longer an infringement. The difficulty with that is that it's a very subjective area and a very it depends whose desk that lands on. Some people would say that's an infringement. Other people might turn around and go, well, no, they've done enough to this that it's now their own thing. The other defense, of course, is parody. And again, because it's subjective, it's very hard to prove or disprove whether or not something is a parody. TPP, on the other hand, says that, even to do things like cosplay, you would need a license from the IP owner in order to do that. So even if you're not making money off it or anything like that. And this is, pretty much gone through now for those. As I say, I'm not sure exactly which countries it affects. It doesn't affect Europe. We've got our own version coming, apparently, but the legislation hasn't been finalised as yet. So their argument now is, well, if you're using someone else's IP, let's say you're a cosplayer like Jessica Negri, for example, and you have to be very careful how you pronounce that name. So Jessica Negri, cosplayer, very, very popular, gets invited to events, usually has like her travel, hotel, etc. paid for, sells signed photos and does autographs and stuff for a fee. Their argument is, well, people like that are only popular because they used our IP as a platform. So, if she hadn't cosplayed Lollipop Chainsaw, if she hadn't cosplayed, I'm trying to think what else she's done. She did like an Umbreon. She's done a hell of a lot of cosplays, and for some reason none of them are coming to mind. But without those, they're arguing whether people were interested in her or interested in the IPs that she was representing as a cosplayer. So under the new law, that is now an argument they could potentially make, whereas beforehand people wouldn't have given that a second thought or allowed that into a courtroom potentially. This is a very tricky thing. I mean, I stopped doing fan art a while ago on the basis that when I sold a fan art print at a show, I had no confirmation whether they were buying because they liked my artwork or whether they liked, oh, it's Dragon Ball, or ooh, it's Sonic, or ooh, it's Pokemon. But I will have some Sonic bits and pieces at Western Supersonic because you can't go to a specifically Sonic show and not take Sonic stuff. It will be in the minority. The majority of the tables will be my original stuff. But it seems like that mentality is now also affecting the law over there, which is kind of weird.
I was just going to say, before you cut in, the other part I was going to add is I wonder how that's going to affect, how many companies could lose out on original ideas. I mean, just from, fan interpretations of their work. I mean, how over the years, I wonder how many companies have gotten ideas from, fan stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, look at the Christian Whitehead thing, where he revamped the engine for Sonic 1 and 2.
Well, I think that started with Sonic CD, didn't it?
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah. Either way, it's more or less the same base thing. I mean, you could argue that, things like Gotham by Gaslight, steampunk fan art of Batman, hugely popular. For someone to claim that the existence and abundance of steampunk Batman fan art never influenced anyone to say, we should do like a proper steampunk Batman comic, I think they'd have a very hard time arguing that didn't influence them. And you're right, there are a lot of things where like games developers have taken mods and taken ideas from that and put it in their next game or put it in an official update. Things like Counter-Strike, of course, we always go back to in these arguments. I know Sarah, Counter-Strike is a recurring theme on this podcast whenever we get into these discussions.
Well, that's because it's a perfect example.
Yeah, it really is. So, yeah, potentially, I mean, people who might have tooled around with that kind of thing might now be a little bit scared off, which means they might not happen, and we might lose out on some creative works, and that would be a shame. But it's a decision they've chosen to make,
Yeah. On the plus side, On the plus side, hopefully we'll see some more stuff like Freedom Planet and Yooka-Laylee as a result.
Yeah, where it's far enough removed that it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Also, I'm echoing on someone. I'm hearing myself back again.
Can't be me. I've got headphones on.
Okay, that's strange. At any rate, I mean, we talked about Western Supersonic. Obviously, I'll have a couple of Sonic prints at that. I will also have finally played Sonic Lost World. So when people come over to the table, I will be able to talk about that game. So previously a Wii U exclusive, it was announced about half an hour before this podcast. It's coming to PC on November the 2nd. It's going to be $19.99 GBP in the UK, and if you pre-order it, you get a free copy of Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed on Steam, which in and of itself is a fantastic game.
Is that right? I didn't realise that. That's
Yeah.
possibly a pick-me-up now then for both of those.
Oh,
Yeah.
the PC version of that game is so good. There's like 5 characters on it that are on none of the console versions. It looks so pretty and it runs so well.
What do you get? Football Manager character, a couple of Team Fortress 2 characters, and I think you get a Rome Total War character as well on the PC version.
What
Yeah, I
characters
think
are
there's-
there in whatever you said? Something manager, football manager.
I can't remember who the character is, I just know there is a...
Are there any characters in that game? Yes, there must
The
be.
character is literally just called Football Manager.
How funny.
I can't even remember what he looks like. Is it literally just a guy in a suit, Terry?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's fantastic.
For some
I love
reason,
it.
I'm imagining a guy with a football for a head, just in a suit, but it
Oh.
probably isn't.
He would be the ultimate football manager, wouldn't he, if he had a football for a head?
When his vehicle transforms, it's football during the transformation process.
Nice. So yeah, there's that. And like I said, I'm not buying a Wii U anytime soon, but that game, like, the aesthetic looks absolutely gorgeous. The gameplay I'm quite curious about. I'm going to enjoy... I hope I do well enough at MCM at the end of the month, which is something you can influence, dear reader. Come buy shit from me. That I've got, 20 quid left over to say, yeah, I'm going to get Sonic Lost World.
Yeah. I mean, I've played through pretty much most of it. I won't say too much because I know you'll want it to sort of be a fresh experience. What I'll say is, in terms of how it feels the closest to the aesthetic and feel of a 2D Sonic game out of all the 3D ones.
That's interesting. When it comes to Sonic, your opinion is one of the ones I trust the most. In fact, Sonic is probably one of the few areas where I really highly value your opinion.
Holy shit,
that a
that's the first time
compliment?
in our friendship that you've ever said that.
It's like a bit of a backhanded compliment, but I think it was one.
Yeah. That's probably the first time you've been complimented in going on 10 years, but yes.
Yeah.
So, in all honesty, you've played it. I
Yeah.
haven't. Tell us a little more about the game.
In terms of my experience with it, I mean, at first I was like, holy shit, this is amazing, because, new game syndrome and everything.
Yeah.
After a while, I've basically come to the conclusion that I prefer Generations, but I think it's very good, but it feels more like a concept than a kind of, oh my god, this is complete. Like, it feels like a good sort of framework and a good groundwork for something that could be great. I think it's good, but not great.
Needs improvement. Why the hell did they go to Sonic Boom instead of trying to refine this?
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. If they could have made a Sonic Lost World 2 or, something with a different title but the same sort of engine and really worked
Sonic,
on it.
oh wait, we found the world.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, in terms of the pace of it, I mean, like Generations was basically hold boost constantly, and it just felt like a burnout platformer. Basically, with this, it feels more like an actual platformer. Like Momentum is a lot harder to keep up, which is
Speaking of, Criterion Games teased a new Burnout, or rather a Burnout successor.
oh god, yeah, I know. I hope that happens. I'd be so happy.
Yeah, they were like, we're going to make a sports game. It's going to have cars, and boosting, and lots of crashes. Like,
And traffic.
yay! And traffic, yeah. And crashing into traffic.
Sounds like they're onto a winner there. Winning formula.
Oh, yes.
One of the tweets was, now should we make it after the second or third or fourth?
The third.
Yeah, that's what I vote for too.
Yeah, The third was the best one.
Yeah, the fourth would be my second choice.
I don't know, I quite like Point of Impact. Point of Impact was pretty damn good.
I never really played much of it, to be honest, back when it was kind of new. I went back to it a few months ago thinking, let's see what this was like, and all I kept thinking is I'd just rather be playing 3.
Yeah. I don't know, it still feels very arcadey because it's got the timer, and I miss the timer. I do. That sort of gave it more of like an outrun, hang on sort of feel. I miss that mechanic.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I mean, I remember for a while Criterion was teasing, themselves were teasing a new game, but that never came to be. It was apparently going to include aeroplanes and stuff too.
Weird. Speaking of, just to go back to Outrun and Space Harrier a second, there is a game which will probably have, would have had arcade perfect ports of those had it come out when it should have. But now, under the circumstances it's releasing under, it won't. Shenmue 1 and 2, obviously you could go in the arcade and you could play arcade perfect ports of, Hang On, Space Harrier, various other things. Shenmue 3 won't because Sega aren't involved. However, it's revealed that finally, yes, we have confirmation, Sony has put some money forward, and so have a company called Shibuya Productions. Don't know who they are. They've put an undisclosed amount in the kitty, so Shenmue 3 isn't just the Kickstarter money, which...
Good to know.
Yeah, because the Kickstarter money was not enough. And I really reached on that one, I apologise.
Yeah, that was a stretch. When you were going through it, I was like, I wonder where the fuck he's going with this.
Oh, I wonder that all the time with Sam.
Yeah, true.
That's right, I just wonder what the fuck were you, 24/7. No, so he's also revealed one other crucial piece of information. Shenmue 3 isn't going to finish the actual story. Ryo's tale won't be over come the end of Shenmue 3.
Didn't we already know that?
No.
I'm pretty sure we already knew that.
I felt it was unlikely that they'd cover everything they still wanted to cover, given that they originally said there was 11 chapters to the story, and that the first Shenmue game really only covered Chapter 1. I think they said they got to about Chapter 3 by the end of Shenmue 2. I'm like, well, they're not going to cover 8 chapters in one kickstarted game with a budget of about 10 million. I'm
sure there was an interview with him where he said that he was going to have to rewrite the story because he wasn't going to have enough episodes left to fulfill the whole story. I'm sure that was a thing.
No,
I might
what
be
he's
losing
saying
it.
at the moment is that the specifics of Shenmue 3 are being rewritten to sort of bring it up to scratch, and that there's going to be more focus on story than combat. However, the core baseline, sort of general outline of what happens remains the same.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So he's tweaked it, revised it. It's not really changed per se.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. Yeah, I'm sure I read somewhere that he said he was going to have to refine the story because he didn't have enough time to fulfill the whole thing, as you say.
Yeah.
Tell it quite as lengthy as he'd like to.
I think the main beats are still there, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it will be. Yeah, it'll just be less of the little side stuff, won't it?
Yeah. And also, I just realised we talked about Sonic Lost World. We completely forgot to talk about the arcade games. So there's 2 games announced through Sega Amusement's Facebook page. One is Sonic Dash Extreme, which, if you've played the Sonic Dash mobile game, it's basically a Sonic Infinite Runner. This is like a cabinet for that. Think Temple Run 2 with a Sonic skin in you most of the way there.
There seems to be more and more of these mobile things popping up. I mean, Richie said earlier there's a Candy Crush Saga one up in Yarmouth, and I've seen a Flappy Bird one there as well. It's really weird how there's all these games coming to mobile phones first and then going to arcades.
The Sega Amusements website also advertises a Plants vs. Zombies one as well on that front.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's a good game, though. That might be quite fun.
Yeah, maybe. I think the thing is mobile games are like quick hits and you can die quite easily. and they're already trying to pump you for extra money.
Well, yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, to let you have another go. Oh, you want to have extra lives again now instead of waiting until tomorrow? Well, pay up, bitch.
Shit, that's how microtransactions work, and that's why they keep working on like older generations more. I've noticed as well. It's that same mentality as in the arcades. Fuck.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why these games make perfect conversions to the arcade. The Sonic Dash formula works just as well in an arcade as it does in a microtransaction environment.
Yeah.
The other one apparently is called Bubble Ball Buster?
Blast Ball, wasn't it?
Blast Ball, thank you. And I actually don't know a single damn thing about that.
No, I've never even heard of it.
Me neither.
And like the photo of the cabinet, like the Sonic Dash cabinet's in view, you can get a really good idea for what it is. The Sonic Blast Ball one is like way off the other side of the photo, and it's on an angle, so you can barely see what the fuck it is. All we can say is that it exists. Going to Terry's point of microtransactions, they are getting sillier. We have on the docket a microtransaction topic for Metal Gear Solid 5, where people have already turned around and said, ugh, these Diamond Dog points, or whatever they're called, for upgrading Mother bases, is pathetic. You know, you can pay for these points, or you can grind hours for these points. But it doesn't feel like the people who are grinding for the points can keep pace with the people who are just purchasing them. I suppose that's never going to be the case, is it? Now, they're doing like their online mode, where, as far as I understand it, you get an online version of Mother Base, which other people can infiltrate, and they can steal like your supplies, your soldiers, that kind of thing. And there's now a microtransaction to insure your soldiers, so that if someone comes into your base and steals one of your men, they get to keep your man, but you still get to keep him. He doesn't disappear or go anywhere like he usually would. So there's zero consequence to being invaded. For you, anyway, the person who invaded you still gets the goodies. And it's time limited as well. So you're only insured for a set length of time. It's not even like a pay assist fee and you'll never have to worry about it ever. It's pay assist fee every month, and your virtual shit will be secure.
Do you remember when this sort of thing was unlockable through in-game money, through playing the fucking game?
Well, their defense with the Diamond Dog points is that you can still grind for them in-game. It just takes a bloody long time. And it's not very efficient or fun. But this
Do you remember when games used to be fun to unlock things?
Yeah. Like, imagine trying for ages to build up your base. Some dickwad comes in and steals all your men and you didn't have insurance.
Well, people will pay it though, so that's why they keep doing it. We've discussed this before.
Yeah, people need to vote with their wallets and they don't.
I can't blame them for doing it at all. If I was running the business, I'd do the same thing. If I knew people were going to pay it.
Yeah, you'd just be like, give me your money. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be gone.
So basically, anyone who's thinking of getting Metal Gear Solid 5, just buy it used. Don't give Konami your money and just rip through it and then trade it in.
Yeah,
or just don't buy it.
Keep it in the supply chain of pre-owned, yeah.
We should just buy one copy and everyone should pass it around.
Just everyone in the world share one copy of the game. And then you'll get some fucking scalper scumbag bastard put it on eBay for 100,000 because it's the only copy.
Well, the money still won't go to Konami. So, win-win, I suppose.
I'm not giving it to a scumbag reselling scalper twat.
See, I'm probably not going to play that game anytime soon because, the only platform I'd feasibly play it on is PC. I'm not going to play it on a last-gen platform, but I don't want to give Konami my money.
True. Also, I apologise, we've been going through topics quite quickly tonight, simply for the fact that there are a hell of a lot of topics on here. And I'm aware that, obviously, as always, we do have fan questions, I believe. So, I've actually got them in front of me. I say I believe, I'm looking at them, I know we've got fan questions.
I've normally looked at the fan questions before we go on, but I actually haven't this week, so this will be quite fun.
Well, there's one addressed to you,
Oh, fantastic. Can't wait.
Yeah. So, Lupacillo, as always, I say as always, it's usually him or Kishoro Guy, who...
have we had a weekly update?
We have not.
That's a bit concerning.
It's very concerning. Where were we? Lupacillo has got 3 questions for us. He said, there's one for each of us. It's sort of like Christmas or Easter. I got you one each, boys. You don't have to fight over them. He said, however, if we like, we can share, and we can answer, everybody answer all the same questions. So it's all right. Richie can play my present, and I can play Terry's present, and we can all play together.
We can all play with each other.
Yeah. Although I think it's going to be hard to Oh, no, I can share this first question quite easily, actually. I just read the first few letters and was like, yeah, that's going to be tricky. But then I read the rest of it and was like, no, it's not. So, Sam, in the Hate Bit podcast, God, that's going back a while, you mentioned this mollycoddling culture in society that has seeped into video games, making them ridiculously inclusive for even the most unskilled players. Do you think Spelunky and other independent games are kind of a response against that sissy, you're the last winner culture games offer? Yeah.
What a great question.
Yeah, it is a pretty decent question. A short answer, yes. I think I might have said this before, but indie games make a lot of their money by looking at what the industry aren't doing anymore, realizing there's still a demand for it that the industry are either ignoring, don't care about, or think there's just not enough money in, and going, well, you might not want to scoop up that change, but I will. And that's why I think games like Spelunky, Shovel Knight, and Rogue Legacy do very, very well. They're very difficult, they're unforgiving, they've got very solid basic mechanics, they make it very clear that if you fail, it's your fault, and they always present a fair challenge. I think they do a very fine balancing act, and that makes them very addictive. I think it goes back to what we were saying about microtransactions and Sonic Dash becoming an arcade game. It's one of those things where you can pick it up and play it straight away. There's no lengthy tutorials, there's no, and it wants to kill you. It wants to kill you, it makes you want to, it wants to make you start again. It's almost like these games are trying to pump coins out of you without actually pumping any extra money out of you. And that's fantastic. That's sort of what I go for. And old games had that because they were mainly ports of arcade games, and arcade games made their money by getting more quarters out of you. So the unforgiving deaths and everything else just sort of came across with it. The business model changed. I get that. But I still prefer games like Spelunky. That's where I spend the majority of my gaming time when I can game, and I think it appeals to our generation of gamers more than it will appeal to anybody else. But I'm very glad these kind of games are still getting made. Yeah.
Yeah,
either of you two
summed
want to
that
chip
up well.
in?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
One of my favourite games is Binding of
Binding
Isaac.
of
Talk
Isaac.
about it all the time. In that game, you can unlock everything without any microtransaction or anything like that. Every item is unlockable straight from the start. I mean, there is DLC coming out, as you know, but I mean that's completely optional. You don't have to have it. It does change the game. It's going to change the game, but you can still play it without it. You don't get an advantage by having this DLC. If anything, it's adding more difficulty. And as you say, indie games are more difficult. There's a character on Binding of Isaac who starts with no health and can never ever pick up health.
Jesus.
So you have to beat the game without ever getting hit, which is easier said than done.
Yeah, no, I've played it and I'm thinking about it and it's making my brain hurt.
But yeah, I mean, there's always going to be, in the gaming industry, people are always going to fill those voids in their own way with things like mods and indie games and things like that. So yeah, it probably is a bit of a response to the people who are true about gaming getting sick of the way that it's turned. Video games are more of a business
Careful.
these days.
I wouldn't say that people who prefer modern style games aren't true to gaming. I think that
Oh no, I'm
it's
not.
just
I'm
a
not
different
saying they
kind of
don't.
gaming.
I mean, I play AAA titles and casual games quite happily. I'm more than happy to do that. But I mean, people who then go beyond that and want to play something a little more hardcore as well,
Yeah.
will then go and fill that gap.
Thank you, Lupacillo. You've just reminded me that PlayStation Plus updated today, and that Super Meat Boy is one of the games. So I'm on the PlayStation website right now, just redeeming my PlayStation Plus games. That'll be downloading as soon as the podcast is finished recording.
That could be an interesting race, actually.
Super Meat Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got it on PC as well, so
We've been
Me
playing
too.
it for weeks, but
yeah. We'd have to set a time limit or a death limit, I think.
I don't think a death limit. That'd be over in minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say a time limit. I mean,
Time
that
limit
works really
sounds
well for
reasonable.
me and Jack and Jabby on I Want to Be the Boshi.
Yeah, okay, time limited as then, and we'll do it that way. But
But
yeah, thank you for the reminder.
yeah,
And this Super Meat Boy is playable on PS Vita. I finally got Super Meat Boy on the go.
nice.
Nice.
Yeah, so that is like my Vita contains Spelunky, Rogue Legacy, Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing Transformed, because having mobile version of that is amazing. And now it will contain Super Meat Boy too. So it's those are the games that I play on my lunch break at work, on the commute in, yeah. They're just,
Good times.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Terry, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head in regards to that balance of accessibility and difficulty. Like, I can't stand games that basically require a tutorial level to be able to understand it, where you have to go through this list of things that you need to try and remember. Like, I like to learn through gameplay. I don't like to learn through reading or being told. You know, that's not interactive to me. Part
It
of the
should be
specificity of the video
intuitive,
game.
and these are.
Exactly. The part of the video game medium, well, the specific main trait is the interactivity. That's where it differs from all other media. And
This may sound weird, but do you feel that older video games, where actually the AI isn't that great and it's very obvious what everything's doing and how it's working and the role it's playing, do you find that actually more often than not you look at older style game enemies and go, that's really fucking smart, as opposed to, these modern enemies where they've got like a billion subroutines and they will try and flank you in groups and stuff, and you just think you don't take much notice of what they're doing, and they all sort of end up blending together, whereas the enemies in older games are very distinct because they have such basic patterns, and as a result, although they are far more basic and primitive, they feel smarter.
well, I mean that kind of thing is really sort of brought to light with Super Mario Maker. Really, I mean, it's
Oh
very
god,
basic
yes.
patterns you have in that.
Yeah. I mean, at
To
the
be honest,
moment, I'm still trying to
Harry.
teach Maya to play video games,
Mm,
and the games I'm trying to teach her on: DuckTales Remastered,
nice,
Rayman Origins,
nice.
Rayman Legends, Sonic, obviously,
Mm.
pretty much the entire Mega Drive Ultimate Collection. Yeah,
But
Super Meat Boy would be too hard for her, but you get the general idea.
yeah, well, I mean, with Mario Maker, it's really made me appreciate item placement, enemy placement, all that kind of things. Like, when you look at a game like Super Mario Brothers, it seems so simple, but when you sort of try and make your own levels in that game, fucking hell.
This is the thing, restrictions help to foster creativity.
Mm.
You get creative when you're limited. When you've got all the options in the world, it's like when you only had 5 channels on the TV. It was a lot easier to find something you wanted to watch. Now that we've got 500 channels, I can never find anything on.
Yeah, and the
and-
whole internet and Netflix and stuff.
Yeah, I'm spoiled for choice. I can never find anything. I think that's the same thing when I've got like a billion ways I can approach a problem in a game. And there was another point I wanted to make, and it's completely gone. I've lost it. Yeah, no, it's gone. Off on the wind. Bye-bye. We'll move along. Richie, so this is addressed to you.
Hello.
I keep hearing people say in retrospectives that the Xbox is kind of like a successor to Sega's consoles, being similar to the Dreamcast and because of Sega working closely with Microsoft. But honestly, I find the feel and philosophy behind the two console lines completely different. Any thoughts?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. It's something I never even really thought about. I don't know where he's been hearing that. I obviously don't listen to the right podcasts.
Well, but
I can
he's
kind of
not
suppose I
saying
can
he
see.
hears you. He says he hears
I know.
people, so-
I'm saying, but I haven't heard those points made, so it's quite an interesting question. I suppose the influences are always going to be there because Sega are in the game, obviously, earlier than Microsoft were, but
I mean, we brought it up once previously where Terry called the Dreamcast controller shit, and I told him to take a Dreamcast
Oh,
controller
yeah, true.
and a white Xbox 360 controller, look at them side by side, and see how similar they are. And I think also maybe, and I think I'm speaking for Lupacillo here, and apologies for that. I think he might also be getting at the fact that, like, Shenmue 2 was on Xbox, Jet Set Radio Future was on Xbox, Crazy Taxi 3 was on Xbox.
Toe Jam and L3, Panzer Dragoon Auto.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong Sega exclusive franchises that when the Dreamcast died, instead of continuing on Dreamcast, they continued as Xbox exclusives. I think that might be part of it.
They obviously capitalized
Outrun
on it.
2006 Coast to Coast.
Well, that one wasn't exclusive. That went to PS2, but Outrun 2 was exclusive.
Yeah, they were obviously capitalising on the dying Dreamcast market. They obviously saw what they were doing wrong and decided this was their time to jump in, I guess. Would you agree?
Well, I think this is very much the question. I mean, I think the point gets watered down a little bit when you then get to the Dreamcast era of Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, Skies of Arcadia got a re-release on GameCube, I believe. Sort of waters it down a bit, but I don't know. What do you think? The philosophy that Sega had and the philosophies that Xbox had, do you think they're different? Do you think they were similar? What's your take?
I think they were different. I think Microsoft was a lot more business head about it, and Sega was obviously more about games, which is maybe why the Dreamcast failed, and then obviously the PlayStation succeeded, is because Sony had much more of a business head on and obviously Microsoft did as well, and much more than Sega did, which is unfortunate because obviously Sega are a lot more about games were a lot more about games than still are, I suppose, than a lot of other companies. But yeah, I'd say they're different philosophies.
When we look at it, I mean, there are similarities, and again, I can see where people are coming from in that the Xbox and Xbox Live is commonly credited with bringing online gaming to consoles, and I think that's not true. I think it was just the most successful case.
Well, yeah.
And we did have a pretty successful case with the Dreamcast having its online capabilities, and particularly Phantasy Star Online. So there's a lot of things that, because
can you really call that successful? It never really took off though. That was the problem. I mean, I'm not saying the actual architecture wasn't successful, but was it really that much of a success if no one really played it? I've never
Phantasy Star Online. People were playing it until like 2006, 2007. It went on for ages.
Yeah, but
Terry, people are still playing it on private servers.
Yeah, really.
People are still playing it today on private servers.
Yeah, see, I'd call that a success. It's still you can still play a Dreamcast game online, but you can't play an original Xbox game online.
Phantasy Star Online you can play on private servers. Halo 2, fuck off. Unless you're on the Master Chief Collection on Xbox One. But like the Xbox, they went, right, let's put an Ethernet port on there. Let's put network capability in. The PlayStation 2 needed a network adapter, a separate physical bulky add-on.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Microsoft ditched the whole having a memory card inside the controller itself thing that they sort of seem to bring over from the Dreamcast.
Having a memory card inside the controller. Look at the Dreamcast VMU. Visual memory unit slotted into the controller in the exact same place that the memory cards for the Xbox went in.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say there's quite a few parallels between the Dreamcast and the Wii U.
And there were 2 slots for memory cards in the controller for both the Dreamcast and the Xbox as well. It had twin seats.
Well, okay then, in overall answer to the question, I suppose, in my opinion, lots of influences, but a different philosophy
and approach.
Was taken, if you ask me, and that's why it probably succeeded and the Dreamcast didn't.
Oh, I'd agree with you there.
I would agree with Richie. I can see where people are making their point. I think they picked up a lot of the ideas from the Dreamcast they thought were solid ideas.
Yeah, and ditched the rest.
Ditched the design plan. The business plan, even. The business plan went out the window and they wrote their own. Sorry, for a question that was aimed at you, I did a lot of... It almost felt like I was interviewing you for a minute there, because I kept probing you with more questions.
I quite enjoyed that, actually. That was good.
I should do more of that, then.
Yeah.
Terry, don't expect the same treatment.
No, but I do want to say, like I said a moment ago, the Dreamcast and the Wii U, there seems to be some parallels there. A screen on the controller for one, for another, a lot of its exclusives seem to be going away to other platforms.
Can we really compare the little, I don't think it was even 10 by 10, black and white LCD screen of the VMU to the fucking Wii U gamepad.
Yeah. It's the most underpowered console of the generation.
Well, no, the Dreamcast was overpowered. It came out ahead of everything else.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
at the time you had, like-
it was still underpowered compared to its competitors. I mean, that's a symptom of it coming out earlier.
See, I would disagree. Given its lifespan, when it was actually out, you had the choice of purchasing a PlayStation, an N64, or a Dreamcast.
The thing is, though, originally it was meant to be the Saturn that was competing with those, and then the Dreamcast just kind of came in and took over. But then, as soon as PS2 came out, bye-bye.
Right, Dreamcast took over the fight mid-generation for the Saturn. By the time the PlayStation 2 and Xbox rolled around, the Dreamcast wasn't in the fight anymore.
Well, no, because the PS2 knocked it right out.
It was struggling before the PS2 even really entered the fray, though. And this is
Yeah.
why, what I mean, of the machines that were out at the time, it was the most powerful. By the time the PlayStation 2 and Xbox arrive, it's a moot point because you couldn't get a Dreamcast anymore.
Oh, yeah, I know, but, I mean, people refer to it as a 6th-gen console, so that's the same generation as PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, so therefore it's underpowered in comparison.
I disagree with those people. I think Sega had two 5th-generation consoles, and the two 5th-generation consoles were the Sega Saturn and the Dreamcast, respectively.
I think I'd agree with that, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a fair enough point. That's a problem with Sega when they're in the hardware market. They just kept bringing out too much hardware. I mean, that was the problem with the 32X.
Look at the Master System. The Master System had a 2.5 to 3 year lifespan before the Mega Drive came out.
Yeah.
I think the Master System was 87 and the Mega Drive was 89, somewhere around there. And then obviously Sonic launched in 91, which is when people started paying attention to the Mega Drive.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Sorry, so it's not the first time I think the Mega Drive is the longest lifespan they ever gave a console. Everything else got like 2, maybe 3 years max.
Yeah, it really does look like it, doesn't it? I'm looking through Wikipedia now.
Yeah, I must verify these facts. Bitch, I'm a Sega fanboy, I don't need Wikipedia. Which leads into Terry's question, which, if you don't mind, Terry, I'd like to join you on.
Yeah.
You've done it for every other question.
I know you're not going to give me a choice anyway, so go for it.
You make me sound like a violent dictator. Then again, I do act like one. Terry, you were a Sega head, just like myself in the 90s, albeit different countries, you in England, me in Brazil. What do you think sets Sega players like us apart from other game fans? How did playing Sega systems and games mold you as a player and game enthusiast?
Well, that's a deep question, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things where our experiences differed is, like, I think there was a lot of Sega games for older platforms that carried on being released in Brazil where they weren't released in other territories. Like, for example, Sonic Blast on the Master System that came out in, like, 97 that didn't get anywhere else. So I think there was little sort of differences like that. In general, I mean, I guess one of the things that set me apart from, say, like Nintendo players in the 90s was that I think we probably had a lot more action games, whereas Nintendo players had a lot more sort of RPGs. You know, and on top of that, we had more violent games for a little while as well. We had the versions of Mortal Kombat that weren't censored. Little differences like that, really. I mean, Sam, do you want to cut in here?
Yeah, I have a case study.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, so... let's look at Night Trap. So everybody remembers that when Night Trap came around, it was included in a bunch of hearings in the US. And in these hearings, there was a representative of Nintendo and there was a representative for Sega. Now, the result of these hearings was that the ESRB, the game rating system, was born. At least its earliest incarnation came out of this. So Night Trap was on the docket, as was the Mega Drive version of Mortal Kombat, and there were a couple of other games. But in these cases, they looked at Night Trap and they said, it's quite violent. The things that happen to these girls are quite nasty. Parents are buying this for their kids, so on and so forth. And Sega were very much of, well, look, games aren't just for kids, they're a medium, we can reach other audiences, People who were kids on the NES are now teenagers. Where are the games for them? Where are the games that have got, the attitude and the stuff that appeals to that demographic? Well, they're here. They're on Sega systems, That's why games like Night Trap came out. And we would also very much like to point out that the objective of Night Trap is to prevent the people in that house from getting killed, is to prevent horrible things from happening to them. You're there to save them, not to pervertedly watch them while these nasty things happen. If the nasty things are happening, you're losing the game. Which is a damn good point. And, like, the blood in Mortal Kombat, if you want to say that blood in Mortal Kombat is a bad influence on kids, I would say, number one, that game's not for kids. They shouldn't be playing it. And number two, if you look at my opponent here, Nintendo, they censored the blood out. Now, if you punch someone, or you hit someone with a weapon, they bleed. If, someone plays a Nintendo game and they don't bleed, what happens when they punch a kid in the schoolyard and they do bleed? Shock, I didn't know that was going to be a consequence. They bleed in the Sega game. You think of punching another kid, you know the damage you're going to do, so you don't do it. Which, again, was another interesting point. And Nintendo, throughout the entire thing, they were basically trying to, A, protect themselves, and B, promote their wares. And they were saying that they were very, child-friendly, very inclusive. They cited that a game like Night Trap would never appear on a Nintendo system. Look at Zombie U, they certainly changed their mind. Games were for children and children should be protected. And the Sega representative basically told him to blow it out his arse. And that if he thought games were only for kids, they were incredibly narrow-minded. And I think that spoke through in their games. Like, one of my favourite Master System games as a kid was a game called Kenseiden. Ridiculously hard game. You're a samurai with a sword, and you've got like all these demon heads breathing fire at you and skeletons walking around and stuff. I guess the nearest thing I could compare that to would be like a Castlevania kind of thing, but in Japan with a samurai. You should check it out at some point. It's really good.
Definitely.
But what we saw on the Mega Drive compared to... Because I bought a Super Nintendo and I went back and I filled myself in on the stuff I missed. Nintendo games feel slower to me. Like, the pacing is entirely different. Sega games are a lot more in-your-face, action, now. You look at Sonic,
Blast
speed.
processing.
Yeah, blast processing. You look at Sonic, speed. Afterburner, speed. Outrun, speed. We can do it fast, we can give you just this amazing roller coaster ride of an experience, and they were aiming it, again, at a teenage audience. Now, I wasn't a teenager when I played, but because they weren't, they were quite happy to approach mature themes and approach maturer games, and I think that without that, games would not have evolved and blossomed. I think the PlayStation also takes a hell of a lot of credit for that, but Sega with the Mega Drive certainly set the groundwork beforehand. So I think I got into a different kind of game. I think the Sega systems gave us more of like an adrenaline junkie kind of game play experience for the most part, which Nintendo just never matched. I think Nintendo, the games that I did play felt more lazy Sunday afternoon than Friday night, holy shit, this is awesome. And yeah, that obviously then influences your tastes as well. I think that in my experience, obviously, we're in Europe, so while in America, the kid who had the Sega systems was the odd one out, here, the kid who had the Nintendo systems was the odd one out. We seem to have a much easier migration to the PlayStation than the Nintendo kids did, just from people I've talked to and personal experience. And I think that's because, again, Sega laid the groundwork for that.
I think another thing as well that's worth mentioning, like you say, with the whole Nintendo Sega thing is, like, in the 90s, there was a lot of Super Nintendo games that we never got over here, like pretty much anything from Squaresoft, anything from Enix, all the JRPGs, basically, we just never got, so...
No, we got Illusion of Time. We got that. That was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, not all literally, but a good number of them basically. So
I believe we got one or two that the US never got, which is interesting.
oh, really.
Yeah, I think Illusion of Time might be one of them now that I think about it.
But my point basically is that these were very narrative-driven games. This is the sort of majorly first example where narrative was being part of the video game medium, and we weren't experiencing that as much. We were experiencing this sort of more adrenaline rush as Sega people, and our first experience of narrative really was mainly around the PlayStation era, whereas for someone who grew up on Nintendo, like in America or Japan, they probably, were more used to narrative-driven experience before we were in our games.
My first narrative-driven experience was probably Final Fantasy VIII.
That's the thing. Whereas like so many people in America would have already played like Final Fantasy, as they call it, 2 and 3 at that time over there by that point.
Yeah, see,
which were 4 and 6.
Is it raining for one of you guys?
No.
No.
Sounds like rain hitting a window. It's not raining outside my window, so that's not what I'm hearing. And like when the PlayStation first came out, I was drawn more to like the quick hits, like that Bruce Willis Apocalypse game, which had a story, yeah, but it wasn't narrative driven. Time Crisis, an arcade port, which was the majority of Sega's library, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Had a story, not a very good one. It's Wild Dog was the name of a villain, for Christ's sake. It still is. He's still in the series. I played Time Crisis 5 in Bournemouth a few weeks ago. It's like, Wild Dog is still about? Have we not gunned that bastard down yet? So yeah, I definitely think it gave us different expectations of games, and I think we've got Sega to thank for actually exploring mature audiences. We've got Sega to thank for taking the risk and exploring CD technology with the Mega CD. They were just constantly trying to do things that no one else was doing. All the stuff we said about the Dreamcast that the Xbox later nicked. I miss them for being punchy, for having balls and just giving it a fucking go.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sega were good for that. I mean, Nintendo, I like what they do, but one thing that works both in their favour and against them simultaneously is they're very careful with what they do. Like those
fuckers were still using cartridges in Generation 5.
Exactly. I mean, that's what's part of the problem with the Wii U at the moment is they're very formulaic in regards to how they're approaching their games. I mean, they'll do like one or two different things, but they'll sort of maintain a strict formula essentially, and it comes out in their games as well.
I still don't have a Wii U because, yeah, I would like to play those games, but it's another Mario Kart, another Zelda, another Metroid, another Donkey Kong Country. You know what I mean? It feels like they recycle the same experiences a lot.
That's true. I'm having a look through my library at the moment, and it is all... I think literally all the sequels. Right, let's see. We've got Epic Mickey 2, Mario Kart 8, New Super Mario Bros. U, and Super Luigi U, Pikmin 3, Sonic Lost World, Super Mario 3D World, Super Mario Maker, and Smash Bros. Well, number 4, Smash Bros. For Wii U. And the only original one is a third-party one, which is Zombie U, but that's out on everything else now.
Zombie U isn't an original.
Is it not?
Nope. It's actually one of the longest-standing zombie game franchises. There was a game just called Zombie from Ubisoft. Guru Larry's done a really good video about it. And you were in a mall, there was a helicopter on the roof, and you sort of had to clear the mall out of zombies, get petrol to fill the helicopter to fly away, and then once you sort of got the petrol, basically about halfway through a biker gang would appear and start roaming the mall, and you had to take them out too, and then get like in this truck that they handily brought with them, and instead of just driving away in the truck, siphon more fuel from the truck to put in the helicopter, and yeah. So actually, Zombie U, and as it's been re-released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, Zombie, is part of one of the longest-standing zombie franchises of all video gaming. It's just that it didn't have an entry for about 25 years.
Oh, the more you know.
Yeah, I know, right? Guru Larry's full of random little tidbits like that. His channel's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to all this stuff about narrative as well, I mean, there's just something I kind of want to tie into the first question we discussed as well, is like in regards to the whole difficulty thing with games as well, like how, you know, Nintendo are going for a different approach now as well, where they're sort of making their games sort of easy to get into and easy to play through at the minimum sort of level. Like, I can burn through the Mario 3D World levels probably in one sitting. The difficulty lies therein with sort of 100% in it. So again, all of the golden coins, you know, that kind of thing. And same with like Kirby's Epic Yarn, getting all the gems, that kind of thing. There's a new kind of difficulty that seems to be in modern games.
The completionist difficulty.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Or like when you look at the butterfly effect games like Life is Strange and Walking Dead and stuff, you know, trying to get like the best decision, that kind of thing. It's, you know, it's a very different kind of difficulty to jump in and dodge in that attack, like, you know, really quickly, like Mega Man.
Sorry, I thought you were going to go a different way with this, and I thought I'd be able to join in and agree with you, but then you went off in a direction I wasn't expecting. I thought you were going to say that there was a link between narrative and difficulty, and refer to basically the strongest bit of evidence I've got to support this. I remember reading an interview with the creators of Ocarina of Time, and this was back, obviously, when I was a wee lad. But the question they were asked was, a lot of video game endings are short and sweet, but they seem to be getting longer. Do you think there's a reason for that? They said, yeah, it's very hard to put a lot of time, energy, and effort into your late game, your end game, and ultimately then the ending, you know, like the final few levels, the final boss fight and the ending, when you know that only about 10% of the people who play the game are ever going to see it. So actually developers now are trying to make it so that players are more likely to see the ending. And you've got games, you know, whole franchises like Metal Gear Solid 5. One of the main draws for that game for a lot of people is finding out what happens in the plot, because it's a story they've been following for decades. It's, you know, we don't watch TV anymore, by and large. We don't get our episodic content through our TVs anymore. We don't watch dramas and things like that. That's why our movies are episodic and our video games are episodic. You know, It's not tune in next week, it's come back next year and play the next game or watch the next film. And I think that because people are coming back for that narrative, and because, like, beforehand, someone would be like, oh, Tomb Raider 3, I'm going to pick that up. I never played one before. If now, you know, someone being like, oh, Uncharted 3, I haven't played the first two, I don't want to jump in here, so I'm going to go back and play those first. You hear that a lot more often than you ever used to. And if someone never reaches the end of your first game, they're a lot less likely to pick up the second game because of how important a role narrative plays. So you want to make sure that they do reach the end. So you've got to make sure that the difficulty is set at a level where the majority of players will finish it if they want to.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I mean, yeah, those are very different points we made.
Yeah, but that's when you said narrative and difficulty together, and I thought that was where you were going to go.
No, I mean, another thing I was just going to add as well, like in regards to narrative and difficulty, is like there's all these narrative-driven games that are sort of more focused on the narrative rather than focused on the gameplay aspect. Like all these games have the misnomer label of art game attached to them as well. You know, where it's more about sort of experiencing the environment, sort of
passively. The Stanley parody. Didn't the Stanley parody get a spiritual sequel? Haven't the guys behind that made a new game recently?
I mean, Stanley Parable.
Yeah, Stanley Parable, yeah.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Parody.
Nice. Alright.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I should have been following those guys. I might have to look into this afterwards.
There is a new game out from them, and I can't remember the goddamn name of it right now.
Yeah.
It's been all over the internet the past couple of weeks.
No, I can't remember either.
I mean,
I think it's called like the birthday party or something.
All right. I mean, that's been an aspect of a lot of indie games as well, like this whole kind of thing of having one very simple game mechanic that's the core focus of the gameplay, but it's not like sort of heavily action driven. It's a very slow, narrative driven kind of thing.
Here's a weird example. Minecraft, a game without a story. Yeah? Telltale Games have now released Minecraft Story Mode. Which is... just seems weird to me.
Well, I'll believe anything. Well, to be fair, nothing surprises me anymore after Lego Rock Band.
Yeah. Lego Rock Band. Okay.
To be fair, it had a really good set list, but
that was a solid game.
Making it Lego.
That was a more casual approach to Rock Band. That was more casual songs like Ghostbusters and all stuff like that.
The Beginner's Guide. That's the name of the new game from the people who made Stanley Parable. The Beginner's Guide.
Oh, okay. I might have to check that out.
Yeah. But, I think we've answered Lupasillo's question, though. I think we came way, way away from Sega games.
I forgot there was even a question, to be honest.
Oh, okay. No, those were actually some of the best questions we've had in a while.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, feel quite comfortable saying that. So thank you very much for those, Lupasillo. Kasharaga, you forgot to check in, so now we're concerned that you may potentially be dead. Check in weekly, pal. Yeah.
We're worried about you.
Think of us as like your time card.
Just clock in every now and then.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's really horrible. No, is there any other business, anything else that anyone wanted to say, any shout-outs or anything like that?
Jackbox Party Pack 2 comes out on the 13th of this month. It's just been released today, or the release date has been released today. I am psyched!
Hooray! Terry?
Nope, I think meeting adjourned.
Okay. Did you really have to punch something?
Yes.
Shout out from me to Will McDonald, obviously the indie dev I've mentioned a couple of times behind Kobold's Quest and Dungeons of Draconis. I know he's been pursuing some console dev kits and looking at porting Dungeons to a new engine with a potential re-release ahead of Denna Dungeons Episode 2. Keep up the hard work, buddy. You know you've got a lot of support behind you. Yep.
Lovely. That was very nice.
Alright, so that closes us off for this week, but we will be back next week. Sans Terry, because I think your first shift is on Friday, and if that's a 4-week rotation, no, you'll finish on the Monday, so you are about next week.
Friday's not my first shift, I'm just registering and stuff, so I have no idea when my first shift is, so to be confirmed.
Okay, join us next week, where we may have Terry, or a blow-up doll in Terry's chair. Either way, probably be about the same experience.
Oh.
What?
It's just not nice.
Thank you, Richie.
When am I ever nice?
True.